Welcome to the video. In this one, I want to break down 7 proven steps to sign clients on Instagram. So let's start with the features. The first thing to understand on Instagram is its different features, because there are different things going on and they all serve a different purpose. The first and probably most utilized is Reels. You probably are posting these right now. Maybe you get some views. Maybe it's just, stuff that you're slapping together and putting in there and it's not really doing much. Now, the truth is a Reel is a really powerful way of reaching new people, and that's predominantly what's going to happen with Reels, especially when you use short Reels. They're going to be reaching new people, not necessarily much of your existing audience. And so when we create those Reels, we want to have that in mind and think, okay, well, this needs to be really easy to digest content because people are scrolling through at record speed. You only have a few seconds to grab somebody's attention, and you don't want to sit and watch a 2-minute reel when you're just going through fast-paced content. So what I like to do with Reels is keep it really short. 7-second Reels are really good now, where you can just have a hook, a couple of lines, and then get them to read your caption. Now, what that does is, as they're reading your caption, the reel itself is playing in the background, and that's going to boost the engagement of the reel, which is really powerful. And those reels are going to drive people to want to discover more of your content. So they'll click through to your profile, and if you've set your profile up right, they're going to want to follow your profile. That's how you kind of get followers, essentially. Next is carousels. Now, carousels can hit new people that haven't heard of you before, but for the most part, they're going to hit people who already follow or engage with your content, who've seen your content in the past. And so with carousels, the way that we want to look at the content that we're doing there is we're building more depth, right? So it's written content. Usually it's done over kind of 8 to 10 slides, and it's like a mini presentation where you're delivering valuable information. Now, what's really important with this isn't that you try and squeeze as much text as humanly possible onto those. You still want it stretched out. You want it easy to read. And I generally have a rule of thumb where I have like 2 to 4 sentences per slide on a carousel, just so it's easy for people to scan through. They're probably not going to read through every word, so they're just going to scan through some of those sentences. It needs to be easy for them to read, so they go on to the next slide and the next slide and the next slide. And then eventually on the last slide, what I like to do is give a call to action. And the call to action can be to follow you if they don't already, or it can be to comment a keyword to get access to a lead magnet. Now, this is the first kind of step in this process of taking somebody from like discovering your content to becoming a lead. And so if somebody comments a keyword, let's say at the end of your carousel, you say, hey, comment 23 below and I'll send you 23 steps on how you can lose weight, or how you can progress in your career, or how you can land your next date, whatever it is that you do within your business. You give that call to action, they comment it, then you can message that person and say, hey, thanks for reaching out. Here's the resource that you asked for, right? And it might be a video training, it might be a written guide, whatever it is, you're sending it across to them. That's really great, and that's progressing into some of the next steps that we're going to talk about in a second. But before we do, I'm going to talk about stories. Now, stories are, for the most part, like 90-95% of the people that see your stories, sometimes 100%, are going to be people that follow you. This is your most engaged audience on Instagram. And what's really important to understand here is how you treat stories is going to be different from all the other content, because it's going to be a deeper dive into you as a person, right? If you think about the actual name of the placement, it is called a story. So you want to be using your day-to-day life to tell stories. And you can do it in 2 formats. You can share your own story. So even just little segments of your day, those little personality traits that show you as an actual human being and not just a business are really, really powerful. So people get to know your story, they get to understand you, they get to kind of build that reciprocity and that connection that's super important and is often lacking on social media. So stories are really powerful for that. Now, what you can also do is tell the stories of your clients, and this is where it's going to position you as an authority, because you're getting results with people who are like the people that follow you, right? So they're seeing your stories, they're seeing the case studies you're putting out, or maybe just small wins or screenshots of, hey, my client was struggling with this, we did this, and now they're achieving this result. That's really powerful, and I like to try and do that a couple of times a week. And then what you can do in the last step is to, similar to the carousels, is put a call to action in there to message your keyword for a resource, or you can do a direct offer in there as well. Like, hey, I'm opening spaces to work with me one-to-one, or hey, I'm opening spaces for my new program. If you want to find out the details, message me the word details below. Now, I wouldn't do that too often. I would say if you're doing like a big promotion, you might do this over a few days, once a month, or even once a quarter, depending on how often you want to do it. I wouldn't be doing a direct offer every week because your audience can get a bit exhausted. But what you can do is an indirect offer. So that's where you're promoting a lead magnet, because you're not asking, you're still giving. You're saying, hey, do you want this thing? Just let me know and I'll send it across, right? A quick one that I actually don't use personally is Lives, and Lives is similar to Stories. It's going to go out to your most engaged audience, and you can also have it auto delete after 24 hours, or you can just have it on your newsfeed. But this is a really good way to engage people if they want to learn more from you. The reason I don't use Lives that much at the moment is because I use YouTube as long form content. So I actually send people off the platform to YouTube so they can watch my long form content there, which is where you're watching this video. But if I didn't do that, then I would personally use Lives. But let's jump into the most powerful tool to turn somebody from a lead into booking a call and becoming a client, which is the DMs. And this is where this platform really excels, is getting somebody into Messenger, because a conversation, having a one-to-one conversation is going to be 100 times more effective than somebody watching a video that's going out to a mass audience, right? And it's personalized. And the best thing with it is it doesn't matter if somebody drops off halfway through. You can follow up a day, 2 days, a week. I have some conversations where people have kind of fallen through the cracks. I've not spoken to them in months, and I'll just pick the conversation up, a few months later. Like I might see that they've liked a post or they've liked one of my stories. It will remind me, oh, we were having a chat about their business and they didn't reply. So I'll just jump in and say, hey, I didn't hear from you before. And then we'll start the conversation back up. And so it's a really powerful tool to get calls booked. And the structure and kind of how you do that is if you're sending somebody a resource, right? So they've opted in for a guide or a training, you send them that, you can follow up 20 minutes later and just say, hey, I might have some other things that are useful for you. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions, right? Or you can just go really directly and just ask them the question. I usually like to ask their permission just because it opens them up to be a bit more receptive to actually answer those questions. And then from there, what we want to find out is what their goals are, what problems they're trying to solve, and the gap. So the gap is what they've tried before, and it's establishing the difference between where they are now and what they want to get to. And then basically what you're doing is you're using a process called consultative selling, and you do this in sales calls as well, which is where you're kind of investigating. It's like this doctor-patient analogy where you're there with a clipboard and you're kind of finding out everything you can about them, and then you're making them a prescription. So you're not really telling them what to do, you're just asking them the questions, and then right at the end is where you're giving them the prescription. And in this case, what I like to do is sending people to a video sales letter. Now, a video sales letter can be anywhere from like 5 to 20 minutes long, but really it's just a process that breaks down your offer clearly and concisely. It's going to go through what you do, who you help, your why, which is, your story and the reason why you're doing this, because people buy people, and that's really important to include. It's going to break down some case studies and some past kind of results that you've had with yourself and your clients. And then it's also going to break down your methodology, like really simply, like these are the kind of core things that we do to get people results. And then it's going to finish off with a call to action to book a call. And then what's going to happen is if you send that to people, people are going to watch it. They're going to become qualified if they watch it and book a call. But obviously not everybody's going to do that. So again, going back to the DMs and where it's really effective is if somebody gets sent that and they don't do anything, you can just follow up and say, how about we book a call and I can help you, map out a game plan or map out, some next steps to help you with the problems that they've talked about. And you're going to get more calls booked. And this is really effective. Like I've been running ads for 9 years now. I've done a lot of different funnels. I ran an agency for many years, and when we used to do direct VSL funnels, which is where you run an ad to a landing page, to a video sales letter or a webinar, and then book a call, you would have a massive drop off. Like people would opt in and then they would just disappear and you never hear from them again. Whereas with this, different stages of the funnel, because it's all done on the same platform, they can interact and they can come back through even if you feel like they've been lost. Now, how we accelerate all of this is 2 ways, because right now you might start posting content and you're just not really getting traffic. And so the problem for a lot of people is they look at it like, okay, I'm looking at these videos that are really popular, maybe I'll follow these trends and try and go viral. Now, what happens is even if you do go viral, which is incredibly hard to do, you're just going to be creating very generic content, which is, applicable to the mass market, and that's why it goes viral. It's just entertaining, and it's gonna, maybe you get a load of followers, but it's just gonna create the wrong type of following. You're just getting people that want to be entertained, not educated, and who are actually looking to solve their problems. And so if you create really niche specific content, which you probably are doing already, it's probably great content, but it's just not reaching anybody because the algorithm's looking at it like, oh, well, this isn't like entertaining content, so we're not going to send it to many people. So this is where ads come in, and for a low budget, like you can get this started for a few dollars a day. You can take some of that content, boost it as an ad, and you're now growing your own audience of really, really engaged people. And the great thing with this is you don't have to have tens of thousands of followers to actually get clients, right? Sometimes you can get people through and they become a client straight away. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer and you have to have a bit of a play about with the ads and strategies to get it to work, but it is a really, really effective way to grow a kind of deep and meaningful kind of connection with somebody. And that's what's really important. When you're going viral, you're trying to go broad. When you're using this strategy, you're trying to go deep. And if you can do that with the right people, you don't need huge amounts of people to grow a successful coaching business. So that's one strategy. We can run ads to grow our following. But then on the flip side, what we can also do, and I like doing this from the get-go with clients because it's an easy way just to get some wins in really quickly, is set up what's called a DM ad. So this is like the same kind of content that you might be using with your organic audience on like your stories or carousels or even reels, where people comment to get access to a resource. You can set this up as an ad, but instead of commenting, they're clicking a button to message you a keyword, and then they're going directly into your messenger. And depending on the niche, it's going to depend on how much this costs, but it's going to cost you anywhere from $2 to $10. If you're in a B2C market, I work with relationship and dating coaches. They get leads for $2 to $4. If you're in like a health and wellness space, like anywhere from like $3 to $5. And if you're in the business space like I am, you're going to pay anywhere from like $5 to $15. Typically around $10 is average. And so that's a really, really direct way of getting people into Messenger, and then you can just start those conversations much faster. The reason why this is powerful is because once you have this working, you can accelerate it really fast. Let's say you have a few ads that are doing really well. Instead of having to constantly create new stuff, you can literally just double, triple, 10x the budget if you want to, and then you're going to massively increase your lead flow, the amount of calls getting booked, and the amount of sales. It's a really scalable way of doing things. And so I love this. It is a really great way for clients to get marketing and get some calls booked without being marketing geniuses. Like, it's not super complex to set up. It's much simpler than building traditional funnels. You don't have to have a website. Like, if you look on my Instagram, most of the time I either don't have anything in the link in bio, or I just send people to YouTube. Like, I don't actually use my website in that. So as I mentioned, I do use YouTube as a strategy. If you hit subscribe, in my next video, I'm going to break that down in more depth, because that really is more about the back end and nurturing people. You can grow a very successful business just with the Instagram side, but I do like to plug in YouTube with some clients as well, because it can be an effective way to boost things as well. So hit subscribe and watch the next one. And if you want to find out how we can build this out for you, then just check the link down below, and it's going to break down the offer of what we do to help clients like yourself who are looking to grow their coaching business effectively and generate 10 to 20 clients in the next 16 weeks. So if you want to find out more about that, then just check the link below.